new murmurs that North Carolina wants out of the ACC and into the SEC. The Big 12's on the hunt for Louisville. Or is Louisville on the hunt for the Big 12? This is a Big 12 Locked On Louisville crossover.
You are Locked On Big 12, your daily podcast on the Big 12 Conference. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy realignment, everybody. It is somehow back. I'm Drake Toll from America's #1 Big 12 podcast, Locked On Big 12. That's Dalton Pence from the #1 Louisville Cardinals podcast, Locked On Louisville. Thanks for making our shows your first listen every single day. Let's immediately cover why your school is the right fit for the Big 12 and why it's the right fit possibly now or at least by 2030, 2031. Then Louisville could actually utilize this. This makes some sense for the school itself, not just the Big 12, for the longevity of the conference. And we'll end with, is the ACC going to stay together whatsoever? How strong is what's left of that conference? If you hit subscribe, we both get to keep our jobs. Dalton Pence, I did a show earlier this week. Miami and Louisville should be the top, but by the way, 16 fan bases are going to have to learn how to say that word. That's going to be the toughest part here. Heard a lot of the Louisvilles over the course of the last 6 days.
We have to get out of this discourse. We have to stop with the Louis. We got to stop with the Louis, and it's like a mouthful of marbles, the lull.
Less is more. Less is more. Just like as few sounds as possible. The odds that this school, who I think could be a very viable option for the Big 12, actually make it to the Big 12, in my opinion, are high, given that Clemson and Florida State, now North Carolina, likely want out of the ACC. To me, the Big 12 must add a school like Louisville to stay alive, or even a Pitt. And then you have the West Virginia Pitt rivalry, or you bring back what the Cardinals were to West Virginia 20 years ago. Does this seem like something the Big 12 could really benefit from?
I mean, I think so. I think that and we don't know exactly what's going to happen with realignment, right? But one thing we do know is that the SEC and Big 10 are going to remain at the top and even probably push even further up. So it's up to the remaining conferences, specifically the ACC and the Big 12, to position themselves in the best spot that they can. So whatever shakes out, whichever conference is sitting better than the other, then, I mean, hey, it's all about poach season. The ACC's kind of on in a weird spot right now with other schools looking elsewhere. And if the Big 12 can snag a school like Louisville that really good basketball, kind of fits the MO of Big 12 in basketball, but also kind of has that sleeper under the radar football opportunity as well. So I think that would be a really good move for both parties involved.
We're going to talk about over the course of this show the makeup of the ACC and where the top dogs will go and how the conference could possibly stay alive. But considering losing your top 3 or 4 brands would be detrimental to any conference, and you're likely going to fall apart, and the backfill may not be there with more than a Memphis or a USF, and I don't know if that keeps you together for the long run. With that determined, if you're the Big 12, who are the brands out of the ACC that make the most financial sense, you think, long-term to go after?
I mean, I think you said it. I really enjoyed the show that you had because I thought you were spot on saying that, it would be different if this was like the usual Florida State Clemson pushing the envelope here. This is North Carolina taking the initiative. And that kind of screamed to me as like, okay, you already know what Florida State and Clemson are going to try to pull potentially really soon in the next year or so. North Carolina is on that same path now. I think Louisville and Miami, it's going to be interesting to see how the SEC and the Big 10 views Miami. I can't pretend like I know. I think that Louisville and Miami have to be the 2 brands that you're looking at if you're the Big 12. Outside of that, it really just kind of depends on what you're looking for. Are you looking for a school that gives you the most upside from a football standpoint? Are you looking for overall going to enhance both football and basketball? So, I mean, if you're looking at schools like potentially Virginia Tech, if they don't end up going into the Big 10, Duke is a school just because of what they can do. But then again, I feel like North Carolina, Duke could be in that weird package deal. So rivals could be included. So I think Louisville and Miami are definitely the 2 schools you're like, yeah, let's bring those guys in. And maybe Syracuse is one of those weird schools that could also be an interesting ad.
We will spin this. Syracuse is crazy. That's a deep track right there.
Like there's no clear answer for the ACC, but if you're talking about like schools that are trying to take football more serious, that have like the basketball pedigree, even though Syracuse sucks right now,
Yeah.
I feel like Syracuse is maybe a school that would take it seriously, but I mean, Syracuse is kind of like one of those player to be named later trades.
Sure. I want to spin this around in the middle segment and talk about why this would make sense for you. But first, I need to hear like the wax poetic. What makes the Big 12 a conference that has the chops to add schools out of the ACC to stay together as opposed to the ACC falling apart? What is your view as an outsider of the Big 12 conference, Brett Yormark, and where this league stands?
I think at the moment it's partially because of my thoughts on the Big 12, and I think stability is the name of the game here, but also it's kind of a reflection on the instability of the ACC. Like, yeah, you've got this new media deal that's supposed to, knock on wood, keep teams in the conference until at least 2030. But here you are already hearing rumors. So Louisville's one of those teams that you're not really going to see the Cardinals like be one of those heavy hitters that creates chaos in the ACC. But what I've been adamant in saying is that Louisville has to be proactive. Because if not, you're looking behind the eight ball and you could be left, by the wayside. So I think that with the Big 12, who seems like the future just kind of projection is that there seems like there's going to be more stability in that conference versus the ACC, who's just, hoping one day, Notre Dame will take them to prom and join the conference. But that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. And I mean, hell, your heavy hitters are already been talking about leaving. So Big 12 seems like the way to go, considering that Louisville's probably not a go for the SEC or the Big 10. So, kind of best option available after that.
I don't mind being the best option available. Typically, that's the last thing you want to hear, but in an opportunity to stay alive as a conference,
of course.
I believe it's A1 for where the Big 12 needs to go and Brett Yormark plans to go. Coming up, why this makes sense from the standpoint of the Cardinals and how this could mean long-term success for a school that hasn't even been in the ACC for all that long. This is a Locked On Big 12, Locked On Louisville crossover. Today's show is brought to you by Drip Drop. Dog. Once I started drinking Drip Drop, everything changed. Drip Drop? Stay on top of your routine, workouts, long days, or you're back to class. Hydration is where it starts. You just take the little powder, not that kind. You dump in your water bottle. You shake that thing up. Fast hydration uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids, quickly delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of leading sports drink. You know what I'm talking about. My go-to flavor? All of them. I love Drip Drop. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. It's become my go-to, especially during the long summer days or when I know I'll be sweating it out. That's dripdrop.com. Promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat really hits hard with Drip Drop. Dalton Pence of Locked On Louisville, you've alluded to it already, but tell me, why would a move to the Big 12 make sense for the Cardinals just as much as it would this conference?
Well, I think that we have to discuss the elephant in the room, and that's the whole concept of Louisville moving conferences, because right now it's a pretty penny for ACC schools to leave,
yes.
Right? 65 million-ish, and it decreases by 18 million every year. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like, I know if Louisville has those funds to just throw out there, and B, if they're willing to do that without, sort of playing the long game, which I'm thinking that Louisville's going to be more of a wait and see approach. But like I said, what's good for Louisville in 2025 is not what I'm interested in. It's what is good for Louisville in 2030 and beyond. The last thing I want is for my beloved alma mater to become an afterthought in a conference that basically become the AAC. You don't want to become the AAC at this point, right? You don't want to be Memphis and you're trying to throw $200 million and it's still not good enough. That's hilarious, by the way. Yeah. But overall, I've always kind of wanted Louisville to be in the Big 12, even when they joined the ACC years back. I just feel like it fit the identity of the Cardinals as a Midwest team, more of a coastal school. Now, granted, now it really doesn't matter since we're going coast to coast. But I just feel like the opportunities there as a basketball heavy school, but also being able to remain really competitive in football. Of course, the Big 12 is wide open in football. There's no Clemson there. There's no Miami. There's no historically Florida State. So I think that Louisville would still be able to be really, really competitive and be sort of an enticing option for recruits wanting to potentially look into a conference that, hey, might not be the SEC or Big 10, but you can go and have some success.
Yeah, there's history at Louisville in their athletic department. I think everybody in the Big 12 would respect that brand, and it's somebody that every realignment expansion expert that I've talked to, which I want to put air quotes around expert, because no one really knows where we're headed next in this entire big game of moving conferences and schools around. But each that I've talked to would say on the short list of where the Big 12 should go, it should be with the Cardinals, and vice versa. If you are looking to leave the ACC because it's imploding, I firmly believe Stanford, Cal, SMU, Wake Forest, maybe Syracuse, Boston College are left off the table. They're going to be treated like Washington State and Oregon State when the ACC falls apart. So if you don't have a backup plan, the way that Utah, Arizona State, and Colorado did coming out of the Pac-12 into the Big 12, you could very well be left behind, just like a lot of those schools that are now trying to find a home or find themselves in the AAC with Wichita State going, wait, Houston got to go play with the big dogs. Why doesn't Memphis? Why doesn't USF? For the Cardinals, though, you've already mentioned, like there's the geography is kind of there. There's still this like, all right, this heartland nature to the Big 12. Louisville kind of fits into this blue collar college football style. Is there something there with West Virginia or Cincinnati being in your backyard and being able to try to rekindle one of those old Big East rivalries or have Cincinnati in your back pocket?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that Louisville, no disrespect, but Louisville would be what Big 12 fans hoped Cincinnati would be. Right. It doesn't seem like,
I like that. That's spicy.
And thank goodness, like I woke up this morning and I was like, you know what? I just feel like I still need to thank Cincinnati for just saving Louisville from Scott Satterfield. And man, that was just a great thing. Shout out to the Bearcats once again, by the way, 3 years later. But anyways, yeah, I would love to reinvigorate those rivalries because when you go back to the Big East, everyone loves nostalgia, right? And if you can put yourself in a great situation, oh, by the way, you've got the keg of nails potentially every year that you're playing for. Potentially, the home and homes with West Virginia and Morgantown. Like that would just sort of be, that icing on the cake type aspect of this. So, yeah, I mean, it does. It's one of those, like, I wouldn't just go to the Big 12 to play those schools. It's what you have non-conference for, unless you're the SEC. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those, like, there's no drawbacks for Louisville in this spot unless, for whatever reason, we're going to talk about it soon, the ACC somehow stays together.
Yeah. The Big 12 conference expects to get to 20. Do you think when all this unravels in a year, 2 years, whatever, North Carolina, it seems like, so I'll back up for those who are like, why are they even talking about this? North Carolina murmurs last week that they're looking to get out of the ACC and go to the SEC. Clemson and Florida State already sued the league. So we understand those three entities likely want out. From there, Miami's not going to sit on its hands. Louisville's not going to sit on its hands. They also are going to find at least a backup plan out of the ACC. And if the conference doesn't backfill back to 14 teams, ESPN can cut the contract that it has with the league entirely. The ultimate domino falls, and you're done. Do you think if the Big 12 has 4 teams on the table, Pitt's in there, Virginia Tech, Georgia Tech, Louisville, NC State, Miami, the Cardinals are squarely in that top 4?
I mean, I would hope so. Put it this way. I think that, the top schools that you're looking at, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, North Carolina, that group of schools, it's pretty clear what their objective is. It's SEC or Big Ten based upon the preference. And I would imagine that if expansion is going to happen for those conferences, you're going to look to the ACC to bring those schools in. So, I mean, if Louisville's not involved in those 4, Big 12 is making a huge mistake. And I wouldn't think that was, was something that Louisville did. If you see the conference crumbling and the Big 12 just says, Louisville, we're good, it would be double the mistake it was when the Big 12 turned Louisville away the first time.
Yeah. In that vein, over the course of the last, what has it been, pushing 15 years now that the Cardinals have been a part of the ACC? We're looking at 10? Over the course of the last
10 was this past year.
Wow. Congratulations on a decade. Over the course of that 10 years, have we learned that they're a good fit for the ACC, or does it still feel like, hey, we're kind of what West Virginia has been in the Big 12, this wanderer trying to figure it all out? I
mean, I think Louisville is just looking for a conference that will legitimately give a damn about them. For lack of better terms, it feels like we're the redheaded stepchild. It's true, but you will ask Louisville fans, even something as minuscule as like preseason lists. Like, you just don't see Louisville get a ton of credit. I don't know what it has with ACC refs against Louisville. And of course, I'm not wearing a tinfoil hat here. Just never really felt like Louisville has got fully welcomed by the rest of the conference. And I think that Cardinal fans would be A-okay with going to a conference that kind of welcomes them with open arms and kind of puts them on this pedestal of that top group of teams that, like, hey, we're going to promote the hell out of these teams. And Louisville's just not been that in the ACC for a couple different reasons.
Yeah. Do you think that Brett Yormark makes a big difference too, the commissioner of the Big 12? I mean, is he on your radar at all as someone that you want to not play for, but honestly play for?
I mean, what we've had to, I mean, if you ask a lot of Louisville fans, I mean, some are probably apathetic. They probably don't care much about the commissioner, but
sure,
you won't find many Louisville fans like, dude, that Jim Phillips guy, we really like that guy. Yeah. Again, whether it is fair or not, I think it's just kind of the way that Louisville fans perceive the ACC. But
sure,
sometimes a change of scenery is good for the heart. And hey, I mean, I think Louisville fans would definitely be open to that. They probably just don't know, due to ignorance, much about, the Big 12, how it operates, and how the commissioner operates as well.
Well, for those fans that are confused, we have a very good commissioner. He's much better than Jim Phillips, I promise you. He's a businessman, and he will only accept success. Coming up, what if the ACC, what if none of this matters? What if it's a Fugazi and the ACC is stronger than ever? This is a Locked On Big 12, Locked On Louisville crossover. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is exactly where I go during the MLB season, or the soccer season, or the football season, or the concert season, which is constantly for me. Doing the Locked On Louisville crossover today, I decided to bring my Tyler Childers koozie. And with the Tyler Childers koozie, it reminds me at Game Time, it's the cheapest place I can go to get tickets to see Tyler Childers. You've been there. Log on early. Wait forever. Tickets go on sale. You can't get them. And then you go to resale and they're $300, $400, $500 more. Well, at Game Time, we're here to fix that. 60% off with their killer last minute deals, up to 60% off. Game Time zone deals make the best seats in your section yours. Panoramic seat view. Game Time, price is what you see, price is what you get. No hidden fees. Take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, that is guaranteed with Game Time. Dalton Pence of Locked On Louisville. We've had at-length conversation about whether or not the Cardinals join the Big 12, the Big 12 hunting them hunting the conference. But what if this all goes away? I'm going to ask you this question first. Is the ACC stronger now than ever?
I mean, I guess I hate to make it sound like it's a cop-out answer. It really just depends on who you ask. Somebody pro ACC is going to be like, yeah.
I would say no.
Better.
Yeah, I would say
personally,
no.
For me, no. You're telling me the best that the ACC has been is like the top teams all looking to go elsewhere?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't agree with that whatsoever. I mean, it really depends on which fan base you ask, even down to that point. But it's clear that Notre Dame's not going to join for football. It's clear that, the ACC, with all the lawsuits and whatever with Florida State and Clemson, like, they tried to reach this resolution. And this is kind of what they'd agreed to, right? Like this new media rights deal that's supposed to benefit those that are bringing in the most money for the school, and vice versa. Take some of the money away from the schools that don't bring in much money. But even then, you talked about it. I go back to your episode that you had as like, it's not hard to see what's happening with the ACC. 2025-26, they're golden. They're fine. We don't know what next year holds. Things are changing very, very quickly, much quicker than what we're used to seeing. So I would be shocked if the ACC, as we see it right now, is the same by 2030. I would be absolutely shocked.
This was supposed to be where we're nice to the ACC and talk about them staying together. But if you're right, though, some of this is objective. If you're a stockholder, okay, and your stockholder is in Freddys Burgers, you ever been to Freddys? They do the smash.
I have. It's actually not bad.
And then Freddys Burgers decides we're never making a burger again. Like, no. I'm a stockholder in this. the thing you do is burgers. Like, well, we have dessert too. That's what the ACC is the ACC at its very top, Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, Miami. That's your burger. That's what you do best. Those are your brands. And the second that you just stop doing those things, if I'm a stakeholder, objectively, the dessert is good. I like the Oreo ice cream that has the gummy worms in it, but it's not what is selling your business. And that's where I think the ACC is falling apart. And that's where I think that Louisville would benefit from being like, hey, we're going to spearhead this with the rest of these guys and get out of Dodge. Is there a world, though, where in 5 years, Dalton Pence and Drake Toll do a crossover? Louisville's happy because the ACC is actually strong. Like, what happens if that is the case?
I think either two things happen or one thing happens. And the one thing is Notre Dame actually joins for football, which I think that's the least likely of the two.
Yeah.
Number two, and this is a two-parter. Number one, Clemson and Florida State have viewed the new TV revenue deal as advantageous. They're willing to play it out because they are reaping the benefits the most out of any other school. And number two, the ACC tries to expand. Now, that's where it gets tricky. Like, who do you go after then? Do you sort of take the sloppy seconds and take a team like Memphis? If Memphis is throwing you that same amount of money? Does a school like Tulane pique your interest? It's kind of slim pickings at the moment, unless you're just going to poach a team from the Big 12, and you're not going to poach anyone from the Big 10 or the SEC. Like, it's going to have to be those group of 5 teams that you believe in the upward trajectory. So it depends. It's either Notre Dame or satisfaction with the current members with the idea of expanding. Which is not, the chance is not zero. Like, it's not possible. Like, there's a possibility. I mean, maybe it's larger than even I'm alluding to.
Sure.
Maybe I'm just a doomsdayer. Maybe Drake Toll and Dalton Pence are doomsdayers and they're Big 12 truthers. I don't know. Truthfully, I don't give a damn. I'm calling it how I see it, and so are you. So
right,
we'll see.
Again, this isn't supposed to be like a dour thing, and the ACC doesn't sign my paychecks or your paychecks. The Big 12 doesn't give us any money either. This is more so the lifeblood of holding together universities and intercollegiate athletics as it sits, or at least. So here's where I'm supposed to be nice to the ACC here, but I can't find a way because the stockholder thing. How do you, Drake? What's the best thing you could say about the ACC right now moving forward? Like, how do you spin this in a positive way? They have Clemson and Florida State, but then
they're looking to leave,
and they sue them. Again,
I love you so much that I'm going to sue you, Drake.
Correct.
Basically what they're saying. Like, okay, sure.
I look at Freddys and I say, the nicest thing I can say to you is I love your burger. And then Freddys looks at me and says, oh, well, we're not going to have that on the menu anymore. That's not a real item. So right. that's where I struggle to say something nice to the ACC. But let me pose this to you. I think we can get to an era of college football where if the Big 12 has 20 or 22 teams, we kind of go back to zero, where in the SEC, you have classic matchups like Auburn, Alabama, or Alabama, LSU, or even Texas, Arkansas. We're going back to some of our roots, Arkansas, Oklahoma, with old school college football.
Right.
Well, think about in a new look Big 12 with Louisville, Virginia Tech, you're going to have West Virginia, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Louisville. You're going to have West Virginia, Cincinnati, Louisville, Cincinnati. You're going to have some of the old school things we love about college football. Maybe consolidation kind of gets us back where we've wanted to go. And that's to 30 years ago where we get some of these great matchups. I don't think this is the end of the world if the ACC is not a thing in 2032.
I don't either. I think it's going to look different. I think that unfortunately it depends on like how large is the domino effect. Like, okay, if let's say Clemson and Florida State spearhead this and North Carolina decides to join and the ACC replaces them with Memphis, Tulane, and whoever, Oregon State, or something random. Mm-hmm. Like it just depends. It's like, is Virginia Tech, Miami, Louisville, these other like next tier schools in the ACC, like, are they okay with how the conference is viewed? Because it's already perceived kind of badly now by the College Football Playoff Committee. What does that look like in 2030 when you lose your heavy hitters? So
doesn't look good.
I come back to the point of you better hope that Clemson and Florida State love this new TV deal. That's what it's going to come down to, I think. I think Louisville stands pat until something happens. Like, I don't think Louisville's going to be one of those first schools that's like, guys, I got to get ahead of this. It's going to be, okay, if we see the rubber meeting the road, that's when we're going to be proactive.
Yeah, that's where I see North Carolina being the fun domino of, wait a second, we thought Clemson and Florida State were the two who were really going to drive this home. Now, all of a sudden, if somebody else is trying to do the same and get out of the league, not named Clemson and Florida State, it just means that we're going to push closer and closer toward the death of the ACC. And maybe that's advantageous for the Big 12 and for Louisville and for all of college football in the end. Dalton Pence, what can folks expect as this week is ending? Next week, weeks after, we're getting close to college football season. What do they get out of Locked On Louisville?
You're going to get, like you would the rest of the Locked On Podcast Network, an extensive look into all of the things that there are to talk about. Fall camp previews. Yeah. Fall camp has just started for Louisville, just like it has for some other schools. What are the position battles to watch for? Who are the guys you need to know? What about the schedule? What is that going to look like for Louisville once they get past the 3 non-conference games, and much more, all on Locked On Louisville.
Love it. That's Dalton Pence, Locked On Louisville. Drake Toll here with Locked On Big 12. Thanks for making our shows your first listen every single day. This has been and always will be. It's crossover, the Locked On Podcast Network between Locked On Louisville and Locked On. Thanks again for making us your first listen every single day. Dose Grande.